I'll never call off. Fourth quarter pressure. Back of the jersey. Double sevens. No matter how many times, I never get tired of that reference. Hall of Fame for dirt. We love you with a deep reverence.
Hi, this is Luka Doncic.
Hi, I'm Kyrie Irving.
And you're listening to the Mavs Step Back Podcast.
They waiting on my fall off. I'll never call off. Fourth quarter pressure. Back of the jersey. Double sevens. No matter how many times, I never get tired of that reference. Hall of Fame for dirt. We love you with a deep reverence. Backcourt nasty. I wonder who gon' check him. Cuban did his thing when he went and got number 11. I still got his picture on my wall at 707. Feel synonymous with Kyrie, how we both train with aggression. Competition obsolete. Trying to breathe life into my dreams. I'm so tired of sleep. Still got some work from last season that was incomplete. So hungry for redemption. Thank my boys, just might overeat. Like Luka with his three of them hit, my mic is prone to overheat. I pride myself the most. I'm 22 and my folks proud of me. I took the hard away since I was 10. Was no surprise to me. A step back, Mavs blowing up was no surprise to me. And I'm speaking honestly. 7.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of the Mavs Step Back Podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. I'm joined as always by my co-host, Drew Johnson. You heard the intro. You know what that means. The Mavs won. They finished things out against the Oklahoma City Thunder in the second round of the Western Conference bracket, and they defeated them 117-116. A nail-biter, a heart-stopper, just drama from start to finish. It was the best playoff game so far to this point, and the Mavs close out OKC in 6 games and advance to the Western Conference Finals for the second time in 3 years. DJ, it was an unreal atmosphere. Things were dicey there for a while because, not only was OKC hitting a bunch of shots, the Mavs were letting the officiating get to them and dictate how they were playing. Then there were some calls that went against them, but you got to play through it, and they weren't playing through it in that first half, and they trailed OKC by 16 points at halftime. And we knew coming into this, Kyrie Irving, he's all-time record 13-0 in closeout games. He wasn't having his best game. You knew he was going to get it going at some point, but you had to wonder, did the Mavs get too far behind? Well, they didn't. They came all the way back. They took a 2-point lead there in the fourth quarter. I can't remember if it was any higher. I think 2 points was as high as it got. So they were up 2 points on OKC's final possession. Well, aside from the last second heave that happened from almost 3/4 court. But on their last set possession, the Mavs were up 2. PJ Washington fouled Lou Dort on a play before the ball got inbounded. So that resulted in a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander free throw to cut the Mavs lead to 1. And then on the following play, OKC lobs it up to Chet, who slammed it down with one hand and gave OKC a 1-point lead with 20 seconds left, and the Mavs didn't call a timeout. They decided to go with the momentum. We know how Jason Kidd, at one point in this game, Daniel Gafford was dying on one end of the court, and J. Kidd decided to just go 4-on-5 instead of calling the timeout. So that man does not like calling timeouts. But, 20 seconds left. The Mavs chose to roll with it. Luka played bully ball with Dort down in the paint, and when they doubled, he hit P.J. Washington for what looked like was going to be an open 3. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander closed on him, and he hit ball initially, but then his arm came down from the ball, and it hit P.J. Washington on the forearm. So he fouled P.J. Washington on a 3-point attempt with 2.5 seconds remaining. OKC challenged the call. They lost that challenge. P.J. Washington went to the line for the biggest free throws of his career and nailed the first 2 to give the Mavs a 1-point lead, missed the third one intentionally because OKC had no timeouts because they lost the challenge. And the Mavs end up getting the 117-116 nail-biting win. One of those that, I told you before we got on here, I kind of have a post-game migraine from that. It was so emotionally draining, but it was awesome. This is what the NBA playoffs are all about. This was amazing. Best game so far of the entire postseason. And I don't think that's just me being biased. I had people, who know that I cover the Mavs, who don't have, they're not Mavs fans, but they watch and they're interested just because they know what I do for it. And I had some people contact me. It's like, man, no matter how this ends, this is the one. This is this is the one that the NBA is going to want to promote, going forward. So unreal stuff. The Mavs are moving on. It was key that they closed this out in 6 because now they have until Wednesday before the Western Conference Finals start, and they get to sit on their couches in comfort and watch the Denver Nuggets and Minnesota Timberwolves beat the crap out of each other in Game 7 on Sunday. So, DJ, there is so much to unwrap here. There is so much to talk about. Where do you want to start?
Well, I mean, I'll begin by saying that the entire fourth quarter, pretty much, my lovely wife Taylor had to do play-by-play while I
Shout out
drove.
to Taylor, the real MVP tonight.
She did a great job. She really did a phenomenal job, but that didn't really do anything for my stomach. I'm still, uncoiling my intestines as we speak. And I just have to say something really quick. I know I don't want to be a Debbie Downer because this is awesome. Okay, this is freaking great. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer.
I know where you're going with this.
But here's the issue, or here's one of the issues. Number one, I can't believe we didn't call a timeout at the very end. I can't believe it. That is just incredible to me. Because number one, at the very least, we could have advanced the ball. Like at the very least. Number two, you could have drawn up a set play and not relied on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander making a crucial mistake. Okay? It was a forced three-pointer that we were very fortunate to get fouled on. And I'm going to get some hate for this. I know I am. And believe me, I'm so
100% going to. I just know the first comment on this video is going to be, oh, come on, DJ.
I'm sorry. Right? I have to talk about this. Okay? It's not that I want this to happen. It's not that I wanted this to happen, but I'm so grateful that it panned out the way it did, but it could have very easily panned out the other way.
Even before that,
go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was going to say, just even before that play, there were multiple times during that, first half and the third quarter where we were just thinking, like, kid, please call time.
We'll get into that. But I'm going with what's most fresh on my mind right now. Like we'll go over, the 20 points off turnovers in the first half that, made me go gray early. But we rely way too much on people to make mistakes, and it could have very easily gone the wrong way for us. So, kudos to everybody for finishing the game out, and kudos to PJ Washington for actually a really high IQ move at the very end, missing that last free throw, knowing how many timeouts were left, or actually they had no timeouts left. So just having a sense of what was going on. That was probably the most high IQ thing that happened in the last minute of that game, or last 30 seconds of that game. Everything else, we were just extremely fortunate. And again, I'm going to get some hate on it, but we have to be able to grade what we see.
Oh, yeah.
And at that point, you need a timeout. You need something set that you're going to get something good going to the rim or get something open, just depending on what you want to do. I would have had something going to the rim personally, but it was
it's like the great saying goes, DJ, it's better to be lucky than good sometimes. And
that's a very good point. And this is a prime example of that, but it doesn't do anything for my stomach. Okay. It doesn't.
It was gut wrenching for sure.
Yeah.
The first half, it was more of like just pure anger. And then it turned into more nervousness as the third quarter leaked into the fourth quarter. And then the Mavs came back and they took the lead. And then you had that call where, I thought, and I mean, shout out to Lou Dort, who has, in my opinion, taken over the title of biggest flopper in the entire NBA after what we saw in this series. Now, I've had Thunder people tell me that, this isn't an all game, every game thing for Lou Dort. They say that, he just started doing this in this series for some reason. All I know is what my eyes saw for 6 games. But that play at the end where PJ Washington got called for the foul on Dort, and it gave OKC a free throw and then the chance to go ahead with less than, with one possession left. I mean, that I just hate that so much. And there were so many other, as bad as the Mavs were in the first half, they had 11 first half turnovers. Luka and Kyrie had 7 of those 11 turnovers. There were a handful of those that shouldn't have been turnovers. It should have been fouls called on OKC. They weren't called. Tony Brothers, his crew, it's almost like playing 5-on-8 sometimes because he's a really tough official, for the Mavs to play against. It's always been that way, and especially when the Mavs used to have Dinwiddie. Tony Brothers hates Spencer Dinwiddie so much. Like
at this point, he hates Luka Doncic. Okay.
They seem to have a productive conversation sometime in that third quarter. So, I mean,
it produced a technical in the first quarter.
Right. And I mean, look, honestly, with the way Luka talks, I thought there were several times where he got close to being tossed in it, which would have been tragic. And then we'd be talking about, the Mavs playing a game 7 in OKC on Monday night, which I don't know if we would have made it to that point.
Well, if he would have tossed Luka, I don't know that Tony Brothers would have made it out of that arena alive.
He might not have.
But he was giving him the evil eye all game. Like he wanted to so bad. But, my issue, do I think that officials are biased? No. But my issue with this crew was it was inconsistent the entire game. You would have spurts where it would be incredibly physical on both sides. Nothing would get called. Like there were several instances where I thought we fouled the crap out of somebody and we didn't get a foul called on us. And I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting. And then we come back and, what I've noticed, it really just depends on who has the ball. If it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's going to get the call. He just is. I don't know why. I don't know if he just moves his body in a way that triggers whistles, but it was very inconsistent. Not each individual player was officiated the same way, in my opinion, and not each scenario was officiated the same way. In the first half, in particular, there was a point where they called a foul on Luka on like a 3-point shot. I think it was Lou Dort who shot it. Maybe I can't remember who shot it.
Yep. They initially called it as a 4-point play.
Yeah, and so then I want to say it was the very next play. Luka shoots a step back, gets freaking clotheslined by Lou Dort, makes the 3, no call. Tony, it's the exact same call. The exact same call. Let's fast forward a little bit. There was so Luka was called for a blocking foul earlier, right? Whenever he was set. Next, there was a instance. So it was whenever Lou Dort was driving the lane on it was like a secondary break option. I wouldn't necessarily call it a fast break because they were kind of set. It was a secondary break. He drops his shoulder. Luka is there all day. Luka is there. And they actually, you know what? No, it was Jaden Hardy. I'm sorry. Jaden Hardy was there all day and gets drilled. And they initially called it an offensive foul, and Tony Brothers recants it and overturns it, and then boom, Lou Dort shooting free throws when he was obviously out of control. If you're going to call a charge, that's the point that you do it, because you're looking at what the offensive player's activity is, and he dropped his shoulder. You can't do that. It doesn't matter if the defender is moving. If you drop your shoulder and you drop the defender to the floor, it's an offensive foul.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Luka goes and he gets a blocking foul called on him with a similar situation too. Like it was just very inadequate in my opinion, as far as, how each individual was officiated and how each individual play was officiated. And I would like to see more consistency. But do I think that there's an overarching conspiracy? No. I know a lot of people like to think that, but
No, it's just human stuff. It
yeah,
bounces back and forth. But again, I want to reiterate to everybody, the Mavs did win this game. Like this is a this is a huge win for the Mavs. And despite all the stuff that went wrong and all the stuff that was frustrating, they found a way to get it done. I'm kind of shocked that they didn't overturn that last call where PJ Washington got fouled because, just with the way things had gone throughout the night, it seemed like everything was getting overturned, but it was very clear. I understand when you hit the ball first, like if PJ Washington had shot it and SGA had gotten a piece of the ball while it was already going in the air, then anything after that doesn't matter. The problem is for SGA, he hit the ball first, but PJ hadn't shot it yet. PJ held it a little bit longer. And then when SGA's arm went down, then that's when PJ let go of it and SGA got him on the forearm. So
yep.
Still, to go to the line in that situation, you have a chance to end a team's season with free throws. And for PJ Washington to nail both of those was just ballsy. Like that was
not just any team, the number one seed,
the
number one overall seed in the West.
Ballsy.
That's huge.
Unreal.
And look,
PJ Washington didn't even have a field goal until the fourth quarter. And then he hit 2 threes and 3 free throws. So just big time stuff from PJ. He only played 30 minutes in this one, only shot 2 of 6, but he had some of the 9 arguably biggest points in the game in the fourth quarter. Amazing stuff from him. Let's run through the stats now, since we didn't do it at the beginning here. But Luka, after having his most efficient game of the playoffs so far in Game 5 with a 30-point triple-double, he comes back and puts up 29 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 2 steals in 45 minutes and shot 9 of 15 overall, 4 of 6 from three-point range. He did have 7 turnovers, but 5 of those came in the first half, so he cleaned it up a little bit in the second half. And like I said, there was some of those that I personally believe should not have been a turnover on him. It was just how the whistle was going at the time. Kyrie Irving, after getting off to his typical slow start that we've become so accustomed to, hit some huge shots in the second half and finished with 22 points on 9 of 23 overall, hit 4 of his 10 three-point attempts. And he improves his all-time best record in closeout games to 14-0, which is incredible. Even down 16 at halftime, they were down 17 at one point. It didn't matter. Kyrie Irving and his record lives on. So, great stuff from the 2 stars to help close things out. You could tell they brought a strong mentality to their teammates. They kept everybody together, and their confidence just radiated throughout everybody else. It was incredible to watch. They raised the ceiling of the people beside them. And not just PJ Washington turning it on late, but Dereck Jones Jr., who the Mavs 120% have to re-sign this offseason. Like that, Dereck Jones Jr. needs to be the top priority.
Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. We can't let him walk.
Yeah, 22 points. 22 points for Dereck Jones Jr. in 40 minutes. He shot 8 of 13 overall, hit 4 of his 6 threes, had 4 rebounds, a steal, a block, was plus 18. He has scored 15 straight points, or 15 straight. He's scored at least 15 points in 3 straight games, which is a playoff career high for him. And he's only done it one other time throughout his entire career where he's had 3 consecutive games scoring 15 plus. So this guy is still young. He is 27 years old, and he keeps getting better. And the Mavs got to do everything they can to keep him, because Dereck Jones Jr. has been unbelievable for this team, and he gives the Mavs a legitimate shot of winning the title this year. But what do you think about his play specifically? Because, I mean, he was everywhere tonight.
I think that Derrick Jones Jr. has been probably our most consistent role player of the playoffs. And I have to say, going into this, I was not expecting this. But, I mean, good Lord. The guy, he adding that jump shot has really opened things up for him because, he came into the league as, I mean, he was one of the best athletes, if not the best athlete in his draft class. I remember that vividly. The issue was he wasn't quite skilled enough at the time. He couldn't really shoot the ball. He didn't have that great of a handle whenever he first came into the league. But his metamorphosis has been eye-opening. And the fact that he has improved this much and has been able to perform like this on a stage such as, the Western Conference semifinals, I'm flabbergasted, and I'm going to be so angry if we don't re-sign him. I'm going to be violently angry because he has helped us so much, and he has been so consistent, and he has earned his money. You just give him the check and let him write out whatever the hell he wants because
The
we need
Mavs, and shout out to CBA Mavs on Twitter. If y'all are on Mavs Twitter, y'all know who I'm talking about. But he said the easiest path, to the Mavs re-signing Dereck Jones Jr. would be opening up the full MLE. Not right now the Mavs have the taxpayers MLE, but if you open up the full MLE, you can pay a guy what $12-13 million a year if you need to. The easiest way to do that is to trade Tim Hardaway Jr. to a cap space team for somebody making at least, $3-4 million. And what matches up perfectly, and we were talking about this in one of our groups, where we throw ideas off each other all day, every day. But the Detroit Pistons, they have Quentin Grimes now, who came from the Knicks. And the Mavs were linked to Quentin Grimes in trade rumors before the Knicks traded him to Detroit. Well, guess who has been linked to the Pistons in previous years, in trade rumors? Tim Hardaway Jr. And he has a relationship with Cade Cunningham, and they're a cap space team, and Detroit's not going to sign anybody noteworthy with their cap space. So that's a very interesting idea. Not only could you replace Tim Hardaway Jr.'s minutes and, some of his production scoring wise with Quentin Grimes, who's a much better three-point shooter, consistent three-point shooter.
Yes.
But you also open up the full MLE and you get to give Dereck Jones a much deserved pay raise. So that's the way, in my opinion. That's the one where I'm like, I hope the Mavs are able to get that one done because that would be unbelievable. So, but yeah, Dereck Jones Jr., he's incredible. Not just with the three. I mean, the 3-point shot is just icing on the cake at this point. But, he's so good moving off ball. Like, there's so many times where I'm watching the Mavs and it seems like a possession might be getting a little cluttered. And then all of a sudden, here comes Dereck Jones going baseline out of nowhere, going 12 feet up in the air off of a Luka alley-oop pass. Like, there was one time tonight where Luka could have thrown it to either Jones or Lively. It would have ended with the same result. But, I mean, his rim running is unbelievable. And, you talked about the world-class athleticism. It never left. It's always been there. And now that he's adding other stuff to it is just crazy. Like, I can't say enough good things about the guy.
Well, the way that this works for him is, he hangs out in the corner. He's a really good corner / wing 3-point shooter to begin with. So, he takes attention from the defense that way. But whenever you have straight line drives from one of the slots, you have either Lively or Gafford in the dunker spot who are already lob threats in their own right. So you have whoever is guarding the middle down there cheated over towards them already. So the way this works is whenever you get that straight line drive, whoever Derrick Jones's man is going to help over, which allows that baseline cut to happen. Or, the kick out for three. Either way, pick your poison. But we really see those lobs happen off of straight line drives from the slot. His man helps over. Derrick Jones comes right with him, and he takes flight. Ball goes in the air. Money every single time. Yep. And that's what happens whenever you have a hyper-athletic shooter, which is very hard to come by. And, guess what? He's also a great rebounder. He's also a really good defender. He's got an incredible motor. He's going to give you 110% every single play, as we have seen. I think it's a worthwhile investment, and I think we would be foolish to not capitalize on it.
Yeah, and the thing about the athleticism part, especially coming from the corner three in, is even if a team, like we saw it with OKC several times during this series, even when they tried to recover and contest it, he's already too high up in the air for them to do anything about it. Yep. You can contest it if you want to. It doesn't matter. He's already taken flight. Flight 55 is off the ground, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I can't say enough good things about Dereck Jones Jr. He's been a seamless fit. Shout out to Nico Harrison, who I still can't believe he only finished, fifth in Executive of the Year voting. That's unbelievable to me, because for the last 12 months, he has just been in the lab cooking.
I'll tell you what, I really think that award needs to be given at the very end of the year after the finals, after everything is said and done, because you really don't understand the totality of the moves these people make until the playoffs. And you're really seeing the fruits of Nico's labor here. I mean, he's gotten us to the Western Conference Final, a team that didn't even make the playoffs last year, a team that before the trade deadline was looking at possibly the same result, and he turned it all around all in one night.
That award needs to be from the end of the finals to the end of the finals the previous year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do you do? What do you do after the season is officially over, and then you roll into the draft and you roll into free agency? From that point on, what do you do? And the guy has done nothing but cook. He got Dereck Lively. Not only did he get Dereck Lively, but he traded down and got a second first-round pick with Omax Prosper, he's going to play a factor on this team going forward. It's obviously not this year, but going forward, Omax Prosper is going to be a big part of this team and the rotation. We might be disappointed with how Dante Exum, his postseason has been, but he had a great regular season. He shot nearly 50% from three. Great reclamation project. Good veteran minimum signing.
Don't count him out yet. Don't count him out yet.
Exactly.
Because I think that Exum matches up well potentially with either of our possible opponents, which we'll get into that in a little while. But do not count him out yet. Exum, I think, is still very capable. I'm not really sure what happened to him so far in this playoffs, but he's better than what he's shown. But success in this league is not determined by what you do in the regular season. If that were the case, then the 73-9 Warriors would be dubbed the best team of all time.
Yep.
That's just the fact. No, but nobody remembers them. I mean, we do, but nobody remembers them like the 72-10 Bulls, right? You know why? Because the Bulls won the world championship that year.
I never think about the 73-9 Warriors. All I think about is blocked by James, and then Kyrie Irving hitting that shot over Steph in Game 7 to win that. That's what I think about.
I think more about the Kyrie three. I think more about that. Since Kyrie's one of us, I think more about that. But again,
it was quite literally the game, the championship winning shot.
Yeah, it was. And we've got that guy on our team now, and who also is, by the way, 14-0 in closeout games. Best closer in history, baby. Best closer in history.
And like I said, it's not just his scoring, because I mean he didn't have a great game by his lofty standards, scoring the ball tonight. But again, the demeanor, the belief, instilling that in his guy. He said in his post-game interview on ABC, ESPN, that at halftime he challenged his teammates in the locker room. He said, well, he said, if we guys, if y'all want to go to a game 7 in OKC on Monday, we might as well just pack it up right now. We might as well just pack it up right now and go, because that's how we're playing. And he said his teammates said, F that. We're coming out in this second half and we're getting this thing done. And, hats off to them. They got it done. So it's stuff like that. It goes beyond the stats. It goes beyond the points and the assists and the rebound, all that stuff. The mentality he has instilled in this team is unbelievable. And he's helped Luka out a lot too. Luka is arguably the best player in the league. He's up there with the best of them. But, I think Kyrie has really helped Luka mature. He still has his lapses where he talks to the officials too much, and he has his down moments. And I think most of that this postseason has been him being annoyed that he's injured. That his knee's been hurting. But I really do think Kyrie has been a godsend for Luka and his demeanor, in these situations. And this is a much different feel for the Mavs going into this Western Conference Finals than it was in 2022.
Oh yeah. I like our matchup with either of these teams. I'll be eager to see who wins that game 7, because then we can start doing our scouting work. But I like our chances with either of these teams. But going back to Kyrie Irving, aside from everything he's capable of doing on the court, and people may disagree with me about this, but quite frankly, I don't really care, just because I've done my research on it. I think that Kyrie Irving is probably the best teammate in the Mavs organization. I think he is. I think he has done an exceptional job.
100%.
I think, and I know people are going to be raising their eyebrows like, Kyrie Irving, best teammate? What? This guy's a cancer. No, he's not. He's not. And the proof is this season. Look at what he's done in instilling confidence in our young players, specifically Dereck Lively. Dereck Lively would not be Dereck Lively without Kyrie Irving. He is constantly in his ear. You go back and you look at film and you watch. Every time Dereck Lively does something good, the first person who is in his ear is Kyrie Irving. Every time the kid screws up, the first person who picks him up is Kyrie Irving. And that's not just Dereck Lively. That's across the board. Everybody involved. He's like that old. He's that uncle. He's that Uncle Drew, right? I mean, we laugh about that movie role or whatever, but I mean, that's pretty much the role that he's taken with this team. He's like that old uncle, that old head who's been there before and who wants all of his nephews to succeed. And
exactly.
That's who he is now. And I don't really care if anyone disagrees with me about it. I have my opinions on it.
Well, look, before this season, I think a lot of national media people would have probably disagreed, because there was still a lot of doubt coming into this season based on how the Mavs ended last year. And I mean, look, they missed the playoffs and the vibes were kind of in the toilet, but it wasn't because of Kyrie. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault that the Mavs didn't have significant or adequate depth around him and Luka. It wasn't his fault that he and Luka were banged up at this, around the same time toward that final stretch, but it all worked out. They missed the playoffs. It allowed them to get Dereck Lively, who we will get to in a second. He was, out of all the guys we've talked about, Lively was probably the best player in this game out of any of them. But to your point, though, the whole narrative that Kyrie Irving is a bad teammate is old news. Like, that should never be brought up. It's hogwash. It was always hogwash. There were never any issues between him and his teammates. Guys love him. It was, especially in Brooklyn, his previous stop, all of the issues were between him and management. It wasn't him and teammates. So Kyrie Irving is amazing. And like I said, moving on now to Dereck Lively, who Kyrie has, uplifted so often throughout the series. He was incredible. The rookie, the 20-year-old rookie big man in 30 minutes off the bench had 12 points, 15 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, and was a team high plus 27. How many times throughout this postseason have we been looking at the box score after games and Dereck Lively ends up being the top guy in the plus minus department? That is not a coincidence. He makes that big of a difference on defense. He is unreal. And I think it was like early in the fourth quarter in game 6 against OKC. It was still in the balance. I think the Mavs were down 10 or 11 points. And I tweeted out, I was like, you know, the Mavs are going to have to finish this game with Dereck Lively over Daniel Gafford if they're going to have a chance to win. And shout out to Kid. That's exactly what he did. And he made a huge difference. 4 huge offensive rebounds. He hit 2 of his 3 free throws. He had 1 play where he went up over Chet and finished at the rim and got the foul.
Mm-hmm.
He was great. He was unbelievable. And this kid continues to impress me. Like we had high, especially you've had high hopes for him since well before we knew it was even possible the Mavs were going to draft him. You were saying in like November of November of 2022, like, hey, the Mavs need to find a way to get Dereck Lively. And it happened, and he has exceeded all expectations in his rookie year. Just an incredible performance for him in a series clinching game 6. I mean, what else can you say about Dereck Lively?
He kept us alive. Lively kept us alive. There were several. I mean, we can talk about his defense all day, and that was exceptional. But the fact of the matter is, he kept us alive on the offensive end with his work on the boards. He was able to tap balls out. He was able to keep possessions alive. He was able to finish at the rim. He made free throws. Well, most of them. That's something we're continuing to work on. But hey, we're not perfect. Nobody is. But all I have to say is this. Of the main centers in this draft, who are the main 2 that you hear about? You hear about Chet Holmgren and you hear about Victor Wembanyama, and they're both exceptional. But guess where neither of them people are right now? The Western Conference
Finals.
Guess who is Dereck Lively II? And guess who had a big part in getting the Mavericks to the Western Conference Finals? Dereck Lively II. And, you know, the exciting part about this kid is he hasn't even scratched the surface yet.
That's what's so incredible to me.
If you go back and you look at some of his high school stuff, I encourage all of you to go back and look at high school film of Dereck Lively. There's a lot of things that the kid is capable of doing that you haven't seen yet. For instance, he can stretch the floor. He hadn't really done that for the Mavs yet, but he will. It's coming. It's coming.
There's video of him practicing those corner threes.
It's coming. It's coming. He pretty soon, you know, whenever we have to take Derrick Jones out of the lineup for whatever reason, you know, foul trouble or whatever, we can stick Lively in the corner or whatever and have him running baseline and catching lobs or whatever, because, you know, the kid can shoot the ball. Number 2, he's a lot more skilled than people think. Right now, he's a little bit weak with the basketball just because he hasn't had a chance to really grow in a weight room over a couple of years, okay? He needs that chance. Right now, the ball gets tapped away from him a little bit whenever he tries to attack off the dribble. But once he's able to tighten that handle up, the kid has game. He has way more game than he's showing right now, and that's scary. If you go back and you look at rankings, I want to say he was either the number 1 or number 2 prospect in the country out of high school. And there is a big reason for that. And that's potential. It is all based on potential. And, you know, while I would agree that Victor Wembanyama has the most potential of anyone I've seen maybe ever, if Victor Wembanyama did not exist, Dereck Lively would have the most potential out of anyone in that draft. Period.
I tell you one thing. If Dereck Lively was in this year's draft class, he'd go number 1.
Number 1 pick.
Number 1 pick in this year's draft class.
Number 1 pick, baby. I mean,
Uh,
if you do a redraft, he's a top 5 pick in last year's draft, I think.
yeah, absolutely.
Maybe even top 3. If you take into account the job that he has done for us down the stretch in these playoffs, I mean, he is invaluable. Invaluable.
He's unbelievable. I still can't believe the Mavs are getting this level of production and impact from a 20-year-old rookie big man. Like, people have put, it's really rare to get this kind. It's unprecedented, almost. To get this kind of production and impact from a rookie big guy. Now, we've seen wings come into the league, that have a more refined offensive game. They can dribble and defend and all. We've seen guys like that come in and have an instant impact. A lot of times if they're put in the right situation. But you rarely see it from a big guy because it does take them a few years to get in the weight room and add some beef to their frame and just learn how to play like an NBA big man. But this is a combination of a couple different things. One, Lively is just physically gifted. Like he's got the frame, he's got the length, he's got the the athleticism, but he's also got the basketball IQ.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got the lateral quickness. He has a nice touch around the basket, even though he doesn't show it off. Like, there was one point in the regular season where he was doing some little baby hooks that looked amazing. But then you also look at the situation. Like, he's playing with two of the best guards of all time in Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. Luka is one of the best ever at throwing lobs. You got Tyson Chandler, who is arguably the Mavs' best franchise center, who helped, alongside Dirk, helped bring a championship to Dallas in 2011. He's now back with the team, and he's basically become a father figure to Lively and has helped mentor him along the way. So all this stuff has just come together, and, he lost his mother in February, I believe. No, when was it? It was in March. No, it was in April.
It was last month.
April. Yeah,
Yep.
she was sick earlier in the year, but he officially lost her in April. So a little over a month ago. Tragic experience. But I think that has galvanized him in a way, because he has been embraced by his teammates. They have become his second family. He said this. And they've all been there in his time of need. And I think that he's shown unreal maturity. And like you said, he's only scratching the surface of what he could be going forward. I am very excited to see, what the Mavs have in Dereck Lively II going into the next several years, because he is going to Luka is amazing and he is going to do his thing, but Dereck Lively is going to change the trajectory of this franchise for the next several years. It's been impressive to see. All right, a couple more notes from this game. So the Mavs, they didn't get a ton of bench production. Lively was the most of it. But they also got 6 points from Josh Green. They got 5 points and 3 assists from Jaden Hardy in 11 minutes.
And good defense. I thought he played good defense.
I thought he did too.
I was really pleased with what I saw out of Hardy. And, that really encourages me as far as, what his role is going to be moving forward. I know a lot of people had written him off after a few bad games, myself included. I have to admit I did. I'm sorry. But, I was wrong. And so were a lot of other people. And the kid also, he has upside. Okay. And, I'd like to see him get more of Tim Hardaway's minutes. I really would.
Which is what happened tonight.
Yeah. And I think that was a good call. And if anything, the guy bring an energy that you don't really get with anyone else off the bench. I think his teammates are excited to see him out there. There's just times on the offensive end where he gets a little out of control and we got to rein him in a little bit, but that's any young guard, honestly. I mean, we have to remember the kid came straight out of high school, went straight to the G League, played for the Ignite. It takes a little while for some people, but the makings are there, and I think he will be a solid player in this league. We just have to continue to be patient. But I love the fact that Kid is putting him in these playoff situations, because the quickest way to grow a player is to put them in meaningful situations in game.
Yep.
And Kid is doing exactly that. So kudos to Jason Kidd for that, because that is how you're going to develop Jaden Hardy.
I love the fearlessness, man. I mean,
Yeah.
attitude is a big part of it. You can have all the skill, all the intangibles in the world, but if you don't have like that dog mentality and that uber confidence, you're probably not going to reach your potential. You're probably not going to be as good as you think you are. So, Jaden Hardy, that's one thing I love about him. He's fearless. Now, sometimes,
Yes.
like you said, I tweeted something out earlier tonight. As the game was going on, I was like, Jaden Hardy has been equal parts impressive and catastrophic.
Yeah.
It was
Like I
a
say,
wave. It was a wave of emotions.
He gets a little out of control sometimes, but man, whenever he does something good, it's electric.
He drove into the paint one time tonight, into Chet Holmgren's chest, took the contact, fell down, and still finished over Chet. Like, when I saw that, I was like, okay, yeah, he's ready.
There's something there. There's something there. And by the way, I don't give a crap what Tony Brothers says. That was a charge. It was absolutely a charge.
Yeah. He drew an excellent charge on Lou Dort
by an NFL linebacker looking dude. And I don't know. I've already complained about the officiating, but it was a charge.
Look, I 100% agree with you. It doesn't matter if the guy's feet aren't completely set. If the offensive player initiates the contact, it's an offensive foul on the offensive player. So you were 100%
specifically by dropping the shoulder. If you drop that shoulder, you are initiating the contact. The foul is on you, and I cannot believe I was befuddled. I couldn't believe it that they reversed that call.
Shout out to Jaden Hardy for playing excellent defense. That was a charge in our book, and we thought you did an excellent job, Jaden. So, good stuff from him. Like you said, it's good to see Kid, giving him some run, not just in this game. He got some run in game 5 too. So, shout out to Kid. He's mixing it up. I think it's pretty apparent at this point that Tim Hardaway Jr., like you pretty much know by how his first 3-point shot is, like, pretty quick if he's going to be a factor in the game or not. If he doesn't hit his first shot, like tonight, he only shot 1 3, but it was from the corner and it was airmailed. So he only played 6 minutes in this game, and that's the kind of hook you're going to have with Tim Hardaway Jr. going forward. Now, if he comes in and hits like 2 or 3 in a row, it's like, okay, well, we're going to have one of those Tim Hardaway Jr. games, and he'll help you win a playoff game here or there. So he actually did that one time in this series. He had a really good game.
When Tim Hardaway's hitting, he can help you, but whenever he's not, he hurts you. And we've said that a lot. And I hate to be that way, but it's just the reality of the situation.
Well, overall, I think I speak for everybody, and you included, DJ, that such a sigh of relief that this particular series is over. Oh my God, it was so physical. Like, I'm tired and I didn't even play. Just watching the physicality in this series and the two high-level defenses go at it. And it's kind of funny that the final game ended up being 117 to 116. That doesn't even do it justice for how good of defense was played, even in this game specifically. But, I know the way Shai Gilgeous-Alexander plays, his style of play annoys me to no ends. But there's no denying the fact that guy is incredible. Like, I'm going to give him his flowers for this series, because if it wasn't for his individual play, the Mavs might have swept the Thunder. They at the very least, they would have beat them in 5 games. So it was incredible.
That guy's the best mid-range jump shooter in the league. They say the mid-range jumper is a lost art. Well, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is an artiste. Okay, that guy, it's just unbelievable. He'll be going right, and then he'll snatch that thing back behind his back. It goes up. You might as well just count it. And I was talking like when Taylor was doing play-by-play, whenever we were just like up one or whatever. It was at the very end of the game, and the Thunder had the ball, and lo and behold, they scored. It was off that lob for Chet. It wasn't Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah.
But I was like, I mean, freaking Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I was like, I'm gonna tell you exactly what's gonna happen. He's gonna drive from the slot. He's gonna go around the back, snatch it back, mid-range jumper, cash, because that's the way it was all series.
Well, he did it the play before, I believe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, that's his go-to. He is unstoppable in the mid-range. He might be the best mid-range jump shooter I have ever seen, and he may be the best at getting to his mid-range jump shot that I have ever seen. He just knows how to snake his way through there, specifically off of pick-and-roll situations. I mean, he doesn't move like a 6'6" guy. He moves like someone who's 5'6". He's so smooth, and he just slithers. And I am so glad that we don't have to play him anymore in these playoffs. And I'm so glad we don't have to play against Chet anymore in these playoffs, because he just pisses me off to look at him. He just makes me angry. I can't stand to look at the guy. And I can't stand that godforsaken commercial. And, a pro needs to shut up. I mean, that's what it needs to happen. Like, I hate that commercial. I hate it. It ruined my whole March Madness experience. It was bad enough watching North Carolina go out to Alabama, and I had to listen to that commercial along with it all. So, rant over. I hate that commercial, and I hate Chet Holmgren for that commercial.
With OKC's season on the line, backs against the wall, SGA came out and put up 36 points with 8 assists, shot 14 of 25 overall, hit 4 of his 5 threes. Like, just when you thought the Mavs might, it might be over there in the last couple minutes, he hit another huge three, to pull them to within maybe, I think, 1 point or something like that. I don't know exactly what, but he just would not go away. He was incredible the entire series. And look, the theme over the last, or from games 2 through 5, the theme was, okay, SGA is playing pretty good, but the Thunder aren't getting good production from the guys around him. They're not hitting shots. And in game 6, not only were the Mavs, having to fight through what they thought, several missed calls or incorrect calls in the first half, but they were also having to fight through OKC getting a very well-rounded effort from all of their starters, because SGA had 36, but, Jalen Williams, who hadn't been good this series, had 22 points and 9 rebounds and 8 assists. He almost had a triple-double.
Outstanding defender.
Yeah, 2 steals and a block. He is the reason Kyrie Irving didn't have the series that, we expected Kyrie to have, because he was anticipating Kyrie's movements before they happened, and that really messed up. Kyrie. But yeah, Jalen Williams, he was incredible. The Thunder also got 21 from Chet in this game, only 3 rebounds though. And then you got 11 points apiece from Isaiah Joe and Lou Dort, who was in foul trouble throughout the night. Surprising, I know. So they got a well-rounded, throw the kitchen sink kind of performance from the OKC starters, and the Mavs still found a way to close things out at home. Unbelievable stuff. And now, we get to look forward to either the Minnesota Timberwolves or the Denver Nuggets. Game 7 in Denver on Sunday. It's going to be crazy. I mean, every game, it's been a good competitive series, just like, obviously, because we're going to a game 7, but each game has been a blowout. Like, there hasn't.
It's a weird series. It's like, all right, I'm going to blow you out. Now you blow me out. Like, it's just, I don't think I've ever seen a series quite like that. And I can't really decide who is the better team because of this. I'm not really sure who I'd rather play. I think I'd rather play the Nuggets because of their lack of depth.
Well, not only not only the depth, but I don't think Jamal Murray is just right either. I think he's been kind of hobbled a little bit. And I mean, the Mavs, obviously from an athletic standpoint, they have the advantage. The Nuggets don't have rim protection. Now, obviously, you don't want to. It's kind of a pick your poison kind of thing because obviously the Nuggets starting lineup is elite.
Yes.
They are the defending champions for a reason.
Yeah.
But this series that they've played against the Timberwolves, I mean, they have really gotten the crap beat out of them several times. They might be tired. And then on the other hand, you look at Minnesota, they're more well-rounded from a depth perspective, and they have guys who would probably guard Luka and Kyrie better than guys on the Nuggets. So I'm kind of with you. Like in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I mean, be careful what you ask for, wanting the defending champions. But just from like a roster perspective, I do think Denver might be the better matchup.
I agree. The Timberwolves, I don't want to say they scare me, but they concern me just with the way that they play defense. And with them, it really depends on how the game is called, because they can become really frantic and really physical. They can do a lot of the same things that Oklahoma City did to bother us, where they would just swarm you. There was one of the first games of that series in Denver. They just took the Denver guards completely out of the game with their length and their athleticism and their physicality. And it was because the officiating permitted it. I mean, there were several things that they were doing that may have been called fouls if there was another crew out there. But I don't, if they allow the Timberwolves to play a certain type of basketball, they are nearly impossible to beat just because of their length, their athleticism. They can make shots. Rudy Gobert is useless on offense, but Cat sure isn't. Cat's fantastic. And I know that Cat has a lot of haters, but when Cat makes his mind up, he's damn near unstoppable.
Yeah.
And that's just a fact.
Yeah, especially when he gets down there on the block and actually uses his postman. Now, sometimes he can turn into a 7-foot tall Tim Hardaway Jr. and get trigger happy shooting threes. And I mean, he can hit them too. But there were one of the times the Mavs beat the Timberwolves this season, I thought it was in large part because Karl Anthony Towns shot the Timberwolves out of the game.
And he does that. He does that from time to time. But the person who scares me the most on the Timberwolves is freaking Naz Reid. I wish we could have found a way to get him. Jesus Christ.
Mike Conley. Neither one of those players misses threes against Dallas.
And I'm going to go ahead and toot my horn on this because I said we needed to draft him in the second round, and we just didn't do it. Jaden McDaniels, ridiculous defender, ridiculous perimeter defender. He can shoot the ball. He can handle it. I said it before the draft. The guy was going to be good, and lo and behold, he's starting for the Timberwolves, and he might be going to the Western Conference Finals.
Which would be crazy because the guy that has taken on Jaden McDaniels' role, and by the way, he wasn't a second round pick. He was late first round. I thought he was
second round. Okay.
28 is where he. But still, late first round. And it will be very interesting to see how, because the guy playing that role for the Mavs now, two guys playing that role is, Derrick Jones Jr. and PJ Washington. So, it'll be very interesting to see how that, because Jaden McDaniels historically has given Luka fits when he plays against him. But, Kyrie Irving has given the Minnesota Timberwolves fits. We'll see how. I personally don't think Mike Conley, as good as Mike Conley still is, I don't think Mike Conley can keep up with Kyrie for a full series. So
I don't think so either, but I don't think that they have him guarding Kyrie.
Probably not. I think they switch on to him.
Yeah, I bet they put someone much longer and more athletic on Kyrie Irving, especially after seeing what the job Jalen Williams did on Kyrie Irving. Clearly, the answer is you throw size, speed, and athleticism at Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
At least that's what it looks like. That looks to be the case. So, but I could be wrong.
It would be funny. It would be like a full circle moment for the Mavs if they did end up playing the Timberwolves, because, that's where this season kind of started. Preseason, where they went to Abu Dhabi and played the Timberwolves in those two preseason games in Abu Dhabi. It'd be crazy how it would come full circle. And the Mavs lost both those games, and they lost 3 of the 4 regular season games to the Minnesota Timberwolves as well. But these teams haven't played since the Mavs reshaped their roster with Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington. They haven't played the game since then. So this is a completely different animal. And like I said, you're kind of picking your poison. You have a team in Minnesota that has more depth, that has a young rising star in Anthony Edwards, who might be Michael Jordan's long lost son. You got the twin towers of Cat and Rudy Gobert, and then you have the third one in Naz Reid coming off the bench. He can shoot threes. So you got a lot of talent and a lot of depth, but you have inexperience. You have a team that hasn't been that far before. Where on the other side, you have Luka and Kyrie, who have been here before. But then the other side of it, you have Denver, who obviously, they might have the worst overall depth of any team in these playoffs this year. But they're also the defending champs, and they have Nikola Jokic, who is
damn good.
The guy. He is very much that dude. So we'll have to see. We will be glued to our TVs on Sunday watching the Nuggets and the Timberwolves duke it out, and we'll see where the Mavs will end up heading on Wednesday of next week for Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Guys, look, appreciate y'all coming in and listening to us rant for how long have we been recording now? Over an hour. This has been the longest pod that you and I have done together since we started doing this, and for good reason. There is a lot to talk about. But y'all, we appreciate y'all coming in and listening to us every single week, really it's more than weekly these days. We probably do 3 a week now. Yep. But it's been great, and I've enjoyed it, and I'm glad this ride is continuing for at least another round. And I think the Mavs have a much better shot of getting to the NBA Finals than they did 2 years ago because of their increased depth and the fact that they have Kyrie Irving now. So we will see how it goes. Guys, please be sure to go like, rate, and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Leave us a bunch of likes and comments, and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts too. If you want a chance to, I've seen people leaving reviews lately, but I don't see. If you want a chance to be entered for future giveaways, put your social media ad on there. And maybe it's just people leaving a review because they're nice and want to compliment us or something. But I'm just saying, if you're going to do that anyway, you might as well go put your social media ad and enter yourself for a chance to win future giveaways. So, guys, we appreciate it. Hope y'all enjoy the rest of your weekend. It's going to be a fun one. I hope y'all sleep well. It's always a lot better when the Mavs get a big win, and man, was that a satisfying series win over the top seeded Oklahoma City Thunder. So appreciate it, y'all. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.